Las Vegas Raiders, Chicago Bears. By the way, it's not a coincidence with his wife. Those are big towns. Chicago, Dallas, New Orleans, Vegas. Those are entertainment meccas. New Orleans, there's a lounge near you, and they are paying people to sing, and Vegas and Dallas and Chicago. So Russell doesn't want to be traded, but there's 4 teams he'd go to: the Cowboys, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Bears. We'll have more on this. But first, I want to bring in Sarah Kustok. She does Fox Sports. She's fantastic. By the way, she was shooting threes about the time Steph Curry was, because she led the country in three-point field goals 17 years ago. Sarah was ahead of the world, and she's joining us now live, covering the Brooklyn Nets. Girl was shooting threes when coaches were yelling at players who shot.
Colin, every time I appreciate the kind words, but it always makes me feel a little old, because that's like a couple of years ago. It felt like I was in college.
Okay, let's start with this. You're covering Brooklyn. They're on a 7-game winning streak. They swept the West. Are you guys even a little surprised that it's all worked and gelled this quickly?
I am surprised in the ways in which they've been able to gel and how they look on the floor, the type of wins that they were getting on the West Coast, considering the fact that Kevin Durant has missed the last 5 games.
Yeah.
He's missed 8 of the last 9 games. So the West Coast trip you're talking about, he played in one of those games, the first game against Golden State. This group is playing harder. Make no mistake about that. They are playing smarter. And I think it's not just about the talents, especially recently of James Harden and Kyrie Irving, but the rest of this roster, the complementary players, Joe Harris, Bruce Brown, Jeff Green. We can go down the list, DeAndre Jordan. Because of that, everyone understands their roles, and I don't think anything is more important than guys understanding exactly what's asked of them.
Anybody concerned that Kevin Durant's already missing time coming off an injury? How does that land for people in Brooklyn?
It's a great question. I think anytime a player of that caliber, there's always a small level of concern. But from the side of Brooklyn, from the side of anyone you speak with, their plan is to be overly cautious.
Yeah.
For him, there is no need to rush back. You saw the way that he came back into the season after not playing for 18 months, and he's been spectacular when he's been on the floor. A lot of the games he has missed has been simply due to health and safety protocols, and that's contact tracing, not he himself having COVID. So I think there's a variety of factors you look at, and the Nets are looking at the long view in the big picture of this before they have him back on the floor.
Steve Nash got a lot of heat earlier in the year for a couple of inbound situations, late game situations, and the guy never coached, so it's like, give me a break. There's a big difference between coach and player, player and coach, and he'd get a little heat for it. Now, over the last winning streak, I don't hear anything about Steve Nash. You hear him, you talk to him, you see him. What do you think is his strength so far as a head coach?
His basketball mind, to put it simply. He has an extraordinary way not only to resonate with players, but to communicate with players. He understands how to deal with everyone up and down the roster. And I think that's in terms of accountability with the stars and with others. And more than anything, I'm glad you bring up that point, because we haven't been talking about him much in the coaching staff he has along with him. But I think by nature, when you look at this team gelling and how they seem to be getting more comfortable with one another, a lot of that comes to just Steve Nash getting more comfortable and familiar in his role. And he has been very honest about what he knows, what he doesn't know, what he's still working on. And I think the systems and the philosophies, principles, and schematic things you're seeing on both sides of the floor now, the guys are understanding what's being asked of them. The implementation of that, I think, to this point has been impressive.
You know, we were just watching LaMelo Ball, who Joy thought would be great. I didn't. We've watched Zion, who I loved. I think both Joy and I did. And it's funny, they're both very offensive-minded players. Zion's not much of a defensive player. And there was always this sense, covering the NBA and watching it for years, that you had to really be able to rebound and defend to win a championship. But, you know, the rules, Sarah, they've all changed. We got a scrunched-up schedule where everybody's fatigued, so nobody's playing defense. And I wonder, it does feel like part of the benefit of Brooklyn is this schedule this year is, listen, they're just too gifted offensively. There's less film study. There's less coaching. There's fewer days off. Everybody's fatigued because the schedule is... It kind of, when I watch this team, I'm like, they're just a headache. You don't get the extra day of rest to guard these guys. Does it play out are you concerned at all? It's a little bit of a tinderbox emotionally because these are 1 ball, 3 stars. How do you dance on that, knowing everybody gets their complement of shots over the next 4 months?
That, I think, is the last thing on any of their minds. And some of the biggest reasons, Kevin Durant is one of the most versatile players. The prowess he has on the offensive end, we can go on forever about, but he can fit in with anyone. I think James Harden's approach, his brilliance with the basketball, how he has taken over orchestrating the offense in regards to getting everyone involved, the balance of scoring and facilitation, how good Kyrie has been in terms of his numbers and accuracy from the field. And I think all 3 of those players have continued conversations every day on the floor, practice floor, looking at film. So none of that concerns me, especially given the examples that we've seen on the floor offensively. Defensively, to your point, I think we've seen improvement. A lot of it has come from positionally how they're playing, the scheme they have in which they're switching 1 through 4, 1 through 5. But so much of the defense has improved because they're taking care of the ball better, less turnovers, less second chance points, less extra opportunities for other teams and putting pressure on that Brooklyn Nets defense. And that's the thing that I think has to continue.
All right, Sarah Kustok, who, by the way, covering the NBA for a long time, first woman named a solo full-time color analyst for an NBA team. The Nets broadcasting team, by the way, has won Best NBA Broadcasting Team like 1,000 times. Say hi to your broadcasting partners who are amazing. And she led the country in threes in 2003. That's amazing. 17 years ago, if you shot a 3, you better have made it. You were not allowed to miss a 3 in 2003. So you must have been really good at it, Sarah. And we appreciate you stopping by today.
You guys are the best. Thank you.
You bet. Yeah, the Nets broadcast team wins the award every year for best local NBA broadcast team. Has for years. Tired of cooking at home? Change it up without getting up. Order Jersey Mike's through their app for no contact delivery or no contact